Hello, I'm Brigantia Blackbird of the Blackbird Grimoire. Welcome to the daily forecast for Thursday, June 13th, 2024. It is the day of Jupiter. We have a waxing crescent moon. We are in Gemini season, the Celtic tree month of oak, deer season, and Pluto retrograde. Now for specifics. The sun is Gemini, mutable air, representing communication. The moon is first quarter Virgo, mutable earth, representing meticulousness. Mercury is in Gemini, mutable air, representing insight. Venus is in Gemini, mutable air, representing the spendthrift. Mars is in Taurus, fixed earth, representing purpose. Jupiter is in Gemini, mutable air, representing questing. Saturn is in Pisces, mutable water, representing nostalgia. Uranus is in Taurus, fixed earth, representing renovation. Neptune is in Pisces, mutable water, representing imagination. And Pluto is retrograding Aquarius, fixed air, meaning we need to examine intentions. And of course, as always, remember the Pluto retrograde mantra of reflect, heal, and evolve. Also remember, for the waxing crescent moon, this is the time to brainstorm, plan, and create on your projects. And for the Virgo moon, your do's are organize, focus, strategize, and the don'ts are job interviews if you can avoid it, undue criticism. This is both in the giving and taking, and perfectionism. Just perfectionism in general is probably best to avoid. We see from a lot of our sources of pagan wisdom, things like the Havamal, Celtic triads, and the like, that it's all about the pursuit of excellence. It says nothing about the pursuit of perfection. And there's a good reason for that, because perfection really is an illusion. So I don't know who needed to have that point reiterated for them today, but you're welcome. There you go. So, Gemini Jupiter is on an adventure, and that's what it's all about. It is on a quest. We are questing, and that is opening the door to all manner of unexpected twists and turns. We don't know where our adventure will take us. But the question really is, are you willing to take that first step outside of your door, or are you allowing the opportunity to pass? Do you remember that Lord of the Rings quote about Bilbo Baggins saying how it was a dangerous business going out your door? You step onto the road, you get swept up, you don't know where it's going to take you. And that can be a very scary thing, especially since we already live in very unsettled, tumultuous times. But not every surprise is a bad one. Not every adventure, not every unexpected thing is this horrible thing. Even if there are challenges and obstacles that perhaps we would have preferred not to deal with, it does not mean that it is not all leading up to something good, or that we cannot learn something from the process. And looking for those lessons as we are in process, I think that can really help us to embrace this sense of adventure and pursue whatever it is we are being called to pursue at this time. Our tarot of the day is the Golden Flower, which is standing in the position of the Temperance card, which is about harmony and meditation. We know that there is an equilibrium to all things. We talk about different kinds of contrasting energies, polaric energies, union of oppositional energies. So we know that everything is really a seesaw. Everything's going back and forth, ebbing and flowing. So the question is, are you coming into alignment with that ebb and flow, or are you fighting it? Fighting that ebb and flow usually creates problems that we could have avoided and didn't necessarily need to experience. But embracing that ebb and flow, it allows us to act a little bit more in harmony about what is appropriate for the moment. So often when we're looking at whether it's problem solving or opportunities or wanting to accomplish something, we have an idea in our head that is good in and of itself. However, timing is an issue, and sometimes how we are expressing ourselves is an issue, and of course, audience is an issue. But if we take that into greater account, not only can we tailor what we're doing to have greater success, but we'll be more energetically aligned. We'll be able to flow with energies that are propelling us further and closer to our goals, rather than trying to fight a tide. Trying to fight a tide, the tide wins. We have a longer Celtic triad today, and it reads, 3 things which follow every lawful person of exceeding excellence: a good name and report for themselves, good instruction for the children where they are, and good progress in everything they undertake in act and deed. So, to begin with, we have a good reputation if we are a lawful person of exceeding excellence. And when we're talking about lawful, I think, especially considering the state of our society being what it is, I think we should be talking about lawful in the sense of adhering to natural law, the moral law, which isn't so much this codified thing as it is a series of principles that we glean from pagan lore. So I think that would be a more productive way to look at, being a lawful person or whether or not we're unlawful. But having a good reputation, having a moral alignment of our character and conduct, of being the person we truly are, no matter where we go, whether we're in public or in private, that is a very important thing, and that is a good thing to have. If people have judged us to be a good person, and we actually are a good person, that is going to create a better society, is going to create stronger relationships. And of course, in times of trouble, that means people are more likely to come together and meet that and work together as a team, as opposed to just going their separate ways, having every man for himself and everything disintegrating. Then the next benefit that's talking about good upbringing. People who are doing their actual duty by their children and raising them to be human instead of wild ragamuffins, that is that is greatly appreciated by the rest of the world. We do not need more ill-behaved children, that is for sure. But also, it's about parents who are teaching children what it means to be a human being, what is a fitting and proper way for a human being to live, how they can thrive, how they can accomplish something meaningful and worthwhile. That just brings around a feedback loop of benefits. And then good progress. Good progress in everything we undertake and act indeed. That means growth and prosperity. That is how we keep moving forward. And of course, that means we're doing something productive. The people who go through life being very destructive, destruction for the sake of destruction, destruction as profession, they can mess a lot of stuff up, and they certainly find ways to get paid for it. So it might seem like, they're the ones who are reaping the benefits, but what do they really have to show for it? What is their legacy? I broke things. I destroyed something. I ruined something. But what did you do? What was the meaning of your life? They don't have progress. They have regression. And I think it's going to be more and more important, especially when we are facing the moral challenges of our era, when we are seeing, the elites getting away with goodness knows what, or at least seeming to get away with it. I think it's very important for us to remember just how they are sowing the seeds for their own destruction. What they are doing is something that is inherently awful and inherently takes them back and cannot create. It is barren. It is a wasteland. It is stagnation. That is what they are. That is who they are. And that is essentially what they have to bring to the world, which is essentially to take things out of it or to make things uglier. Whereas we can do something that is of far greater value. It might seem very small on the individual level, but honestly, these small little acts and deeds, these small moves towards something that is virtuous and meaningful, that builds up a great deal. So even if it feels like it's very small, do not underestimate the impact of people who are coming together to do something and to spend their lives in a more worthwhile fashion. In the long run, that does lead to better outcomes. We just have to keep walking that path. That's our job. So today's intention is prosperity. For that, we have the color turquoise. The plant is the snapdragon. The animal is the cow. And cows in pagan lore have long been associated with prosperity for the most literal reason possible. Is because if people had a lot of cows, that means they had a lot to eat. They were able to sustain themselves. And if you're able to sustain yourself and do it well, yeah, that is prosperity. So a very important animal to us. And the crystal that I chose for this was the jade. Prosperity is all about growth and profit. These are not bad things. Does not mean we've done anything wrong or unethical. That thought process that anyone who is doing well must have done something bad, or they're taking advantage of someone, or they're not giving good value for money. That is a very left-wing Marxist thought. And it's a very corrosive thought, because it's essentially saying that people who do well are people who should be punished because they could not have done that by being earned. I think it's pretty obvious why that is not a healthy mindset at all, and why it's important to make sure that we have extracted that from our thought process, because it's instilled in us from our school days. The teachers all far, very far to the left. It's encouraged through the media. It's encouraged through politicians. We're in that kind of corrosive environment. So learning to reject that, I think that is a very healing thing that we can do. Now, for today's pagan practice, it's Thursday, so this is a good day to honor hearth deities. We could work on our throat chakra, learn something new about your Jupiter sign. You might brew a prosperity tea. And I did find there's a lot of different recipes for prosperity teas because there's a lot of different ingredients you can use. This one uses cloves, ginger root, orange peel, cinnamon sticks, lemon, and honey. It's kind of more fall flavors, but I like those flavors. And I know there's plenty of other witches out there who also, once, it's all very fine to say, oh, there's sun and I've got my flowers and I love summer and isn't it great? But you start getting into the upper 80s and 90s, and so you're like, so how many days till fall? How many days till cooler weather? Well, can't do anything to rush the weather along, but we can certainly make use of perhaps some fall flavors if we find ourselves longing for cooler days. I mean, and we're just at the beginning of this, but I know some people are done with summer before it ever begins. And so maybe brewing some of this tea might also help put you in a happier frame of mind, as well as drawing prosperity into your life. It's one amongst many different recipes you can try. And another idea we might do today is to do something kind for a wild animal. Because the days are getting hotter, there's probably going to be a little bit more need to make sure that the various animals in our area have access to perhaps a water source. That's my good deed for every day for the wild animals. I always put out a bowl of water, and the feral cats in the neighborhood come around and do that. Um, we they are very, very wild. I mean, you're never going to probably be able to to pet them or to love them or adopt them, but they perform a very useful service. They keep the rodent population down. They do a lot of things, and just having them around, I think that's good for the magical atmosphere of a place, because cats are actually energetic protectors. So it's a good sign to have them around. But maybe you have other animals around. Maybe you have a lot of birds at this time of year, a lot of squirrels, whatever it is. Something even as simple as putting out some water, that can be very helpful to help them thrive, because I know that a lot of areas have gotten a lot of rain in the past few weeks, but the further we get into summer, the more likely we are to experience extended periods where we don't have a lot of rain. And that means, of course, natural water sources for wild animals become a little bit more scarce. They get a little bit lower. So if we have a little something available for them, it's something that helps build them up, and it builds up a good rapport. And it's just, I mean, why? It's a small enough thing, and we can eliminate a little bit of suffering. Alrighty, last for today is the journal prompt. I am asking this question, and it just came up to me. Does your spiritual growth wax and wane along with the agricultural cycle, or do you notice periods of time where you are busy doing something, and then you have a rest period, and then you start connecting dots, and it's like you're harvesting this information, and then you have another rest period? Do you have to go through cycles like that, or is there any kind of pattern? What have you noticed about yourself? I imagine everyone has a pretty individual journey. Maybe your own spiritual growth and digestion and harvesting and rest periods, maybe it doesn't perfectly align with the agricultural cycle, but maybe it aligns with other cycles. Just something to think about. And I don't know, it just you might find a way to structure your studies in such a way to where it takes advantage of the pattern that you've already established. So that's what I've got for you today, gang. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments below. There will, of course, be the next edition of the Daily Forecast tomorrow, and I'll see you guys then. But bye for now.